Hello, GitKon. My name is Peter Pezaris, and I head up strategy and experience at New Relic, an observability platform provider. Before we get started, let's get some legal language out of the way. This is super riveting stuff, I know. Okay, so everyone is familiar with the DevOps infinity loop. This is an ideal workflow where every stage of the software development lifecycle feeds into the next. Now, while the philosophy is well understood and organizations have worked on bringing developers and SREs closer together under the DevOps banner, the reality is that most of the time it looks a little more like this. Developers continue to focus on building features without the benefit of data-driven insights that can be provided by production data. Developers often push and pray without having a full understanding of how their changes will affect performance and the user experience. And as a result, companies miss the opportunity to improve products faster and delight the customer sooner. Now, according to Gartner, 90% of the DevOps initiatives will fail to fully meet expectations. And yet, the global DevOps market size, which accounted for $7.3 billion in 2021, is expected to reach $37 billion by 2030. So that means we're spending billions of dollars on the implementation of initiatives that are expected to fail in some meaningful way 90% of the time. So you have to ask the question, what is failing and what can be done about it? Let's focus on tools. As the DevOps toolchain continues to expand, collaboration across tools is difficult, and success depends on your organization's ability to simplify and automate while achieving alignment. Now, developers use a variety of tools from various vendors in their daily work. Some of the most widely used are VS Code from Microsoft, Jira from Atlassian, GitLab, Bitbucket, Slack. And bridging the gap between those tools are CI/CD vendors such as Jenkins and CircleCI. Ops engineers typically rely on other vendors for their daily work, such as New Relic, Datadog, and Dynatrace. So how do we ensure that all stakeholders in the SDLC have access to the relevant information at the same time and understand the objectives and get integrated perspective of the different inputs and work streams independently of what tools they use? So we think there are three essential areas that DevOps initiatives must tackle in order to create alignment and collaborate successfully and streamline workflows. Let's tackle each one. The first step is good collaboration. Most organizations rely on Slack or Teams for this purpose, but they're both not as good as they could be when it comes to collaborating on code and incidents that point to code. Having code and data at the center of DevOps collaboration ensures that everyone has access to the information needed to tackle issues. And this reduces and even eliminates differences of opinion in the process. Second, ops engineers and developers must have visibility into the performance of applications across the entire tech stack. These three barriers can occur in different aspects of an organization's operations, and their impact can limit the team's ability to deliver value to the customer just as much as workflow inefficiencies. Visibility helps the organization reach alignment on common objectives. And third, given the number of processes and tools involved in successful DevOps implementation, it's important to work towards the reduction of context switching and the integration of tools within established workflows. The ability to integrate collaboration, tracking, history, and observability into a single pane of glass can greatly improve clarity and time to resolution. So let's take a look at how we tackle some of these issues with New Relic CodeStream. Demoing with VS Code, which happens to be my favorite editor, but CodeStream works with all of today's popular editors, such as JetBrains family of editors and also Visual Studio. So we've organized things into sections. So this is for the plan, build, deploy, and operate phases of the SDLC. So let's look at the plan phase, where I've got all the tickets that I am pulling from whatever ticket provider you're using, so I can plan my sprint. I'll load up the ticket I'm going to work on next, and I can see the description. And CodeStream automates the workflow items like moving the ticket into the next stage, setting up a branch, and even updating my teammates on Slack. Helps me organize my work this sprint. I can also review any outstanding PRs that are assigned to me. You can see here I can load up the diffs and even review all the changes and comment directly in my editor. And these changes and my comments will sync directly to GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, whichever is my code host of choice. This is a great way to share, open, and work on PRs with your teammates. CodeMarks is a really interesting way to talk about code that isn't a change yet. So PRs help with code changes. But what if I just want to ask a question about this part of the code base? I can just select the code, hit the comment icon, and you see CodeStream tags the author of the code automatically. And I can say, why is this method public? And I can sync this question to Slack or Microsoft Teams in any channel I want. So I'll go ahead and post that on Slack. And once I do, a little annotation is left behind here letting my teammates know that there's a question about that code. When my teammates reply on Slack, that'll get synced back. And I can also see what all the outstanding questions in the repo are. So it's a great way to collaborate on code asynchronously using your existing communication tools. And finally, the best part is our new observability capabilities. So what we do here is we take note of all the services that are built out of the repo I've got open, and then we'll show you where those services are running. So in this case, we've got one service built out of this repo, but there could be many. And I've got it running in EU production environment, in production, and in staging. So for either of these environments, I can see telemetry information about this service directly in my IDE. And this is great because it brings more visibility to your development team so that all the devs on your team see how their code is performing in production. So I see the golden metrics and also any violations. And of course, for any of these things, if I want to learn more, I can just click through and load up all the details in New Relic. So you can see here, I can jump right in. Okay, so let's go back to the IDE and look at the related services section. And this allows me to see what services are calling my service and which ones this service is calling as well. And so I can load up the details of any of those services as well. In this case, I see they're all green, so everything looks good, but I can find more details by just jumping right in. And then errors is a great way to capture all the exceptions that are happening in your environment and be able to dig in and find out more. So I can see all the most recent errors here, but also there's one that's assigned to me, so I better take a look at that one. I can load up this error directly in my IDE, and when I do so, I can see that there's a stack trace associated with it. And jumping through this stack trace could not be easier because all I have to do is click on the frame and it loads up the right file, the version that's running in production, and then I can view that in my editor. And of course, because of the collaboration capabilities, it's super easy for me to talk about what might be going on just by selecting the code and clicking Add Comment. And you can see here Charlie is tagged, so I guess Charlie wrote a lot of the code in this repo, and I can say, is this the problem? And this problem. And this comment will be synced not only with New Relic, but also through that Slack channel. So this is a great way to collaborate on code and errors and see more additional visibility into what's happening in production. So now let's show the final interaction with observability in your IDE by switching to a different repository, where we can see here we've instrumented specific methods based on production telemetry. So you can pull this information again from any environment, but in this case we're pulling from production. So I can see that for different routes, as I open up a file, I can see what the golden signals are. So for this particular route error, the duration, the throughput, and the error rate. And if I see something anomalous, I can click in to find out more and see how these values have trended over time. And of course, I can always click through to newrelic.com to find out more. So the benefit of this code level metrics is to put visibility into your entire development team so they can see how their code is performing in production. And this is sort of an set it and forget it type feature that once you turn it on, every developer on your team will be able to see how their code is doing. So those are the use cases that we'd like to show you today in New Relic's CodeStream, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for your time.